Hi, welcome to week 2 of our first block for 2025, and we're focusing on our legs and our hips this week. It's quite an intense lesson, so if there's too many reps for you, if it feels like it's too much for your body, feel free to take breaks whenever you need to. And equally, if you feel like there's any exercises that just need a little bit of modification for you, drop me an email or drop me a message and I can always give you some adaptations that might work for you. In class this week, we're using small loop resistance bands. If you have one at home, feel free to incorporate it. Otherwise, follow along without. I've got some small ankle weights on my feet today just to give a little bit of extra challenge. But again, if you don't have those, all you need is your mat to follow along. So we're taking ourselves into our Pilates setup. Our feet are parallel, knees are nice and soft, hips are stacked on top of those knees and ankles, and we're drawing up through the pelvic floor, through those transverse abdominals, out through the top of the head, finding that length through the spine. Just have a little feel of that pelvis. Does it feel like it's in a neutral position? No excessive curve in either direction. Starting to slow down our breathing and taking it into that rib cage, our lateral thoracic breathing. So breathing in nice and wide and squeezing those ribs together, drawing down into the abdominals with the exhale. Keep going with those nice long breaths. Take a couple more. Draw your attention to your practice. Feel your feet grounded into the floor. And with your next inhale, you're just going to take a moment to prepare, drawing up nice and long with your exhale, looking over towards your right hand side. Inhaling to the front and exhaling over to the left. One more time each way. Keep drawing up through the crown of the head. Keep that core tightly engaged. As we inhale and exhale, we're coming back to that center point. Taking another inhale to draw those shoulders up. Squeeze them behind you and really draw them down towards your back pockets. One more time, just really easing them up and drawing them down with your exhale. We're going to start to shift our weight and start to work on our balance straight away this week. So really ground through those feet like we did last week. Make sure those toes have got a good grip on the mat or on a nice firm surface. Take an inhale. With an exhale, we're shifting our weight and we're lifting one knee. Inhale to bring it back to the mat with control and exhale over to the other side. Trying to keep nice and strong through the hips. Try not to let those hips drop out to the side. Keep drawing up out of the pelvis. Just taking it nice and slowly with your breath. If you feel like balance is a little bit of a challenge, you can just tap that toe in front of you rather than lifting the knee. And when you're ready, we're going to start to introduce opposite arm as well. Just taking it in front of you to begin with and gradually increasing that range of motion. Again, lifting that knee a little higher if you can to work further into the hip flexors and the core. Taking a circle of that arm if it suits you. If you've got any shoulder mobility issues, then keep that motion small. For 3, 2, 1, we're going to stop with that right leg in front of us. Bring those hands down towards the hips. Take that toe pointed in front of you. Just a tiny touch to the floor to aid with balance. We're taking an inhale to bend our standing leg, keeping our spine nice and straight. And an exhale to draw back up, keeping that nice, strong, straight spine. Try and keep those hips in line as we dip down with our inhale and up with our exhale. Try not to fold through the hips. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. We're keeping that lovely straight spine as we dip down and lengthen up. And if you want to increase the challenge, you can dip a little lower and you can come into a knee crunch as you extend. dipping down and drawing up. As you draw up through that kneecap, through that core, up through the crown of the head. Squeezing into the mat with those toes to find your balance. Keeping on going. It's really tough on that standing leg in particular. Aiming for 2 more if you can, but do take a break if you need to. Final one, drawing up. Take that toe in front of you. Now we're going to sandwich our back, our midsection between our hands. So we've got one hand on our tummy, one hand going into our mid-back behind us. We're taking an inhale, and with an exhale, we're sliding that right toe around. And as it comes to the side, you're going to feel as if you might want to arch into that mid-back. Keep that back strong. Shift the weight forwards if you need to. Squeeze into that glute to take that leg into extension, the hip into extension, and slide it back round again. Keep drawing up. Try not to let the backs come over to the side in order to compensate. Keep that centre of balance in the middle. That standing leg is working surprisingly hard to stabilise you. Aiming for a couple of more if you can. If you want to extend this, make it a little bit more challenging, you can lift that leg. Sliding it round, but still really drawing up through that core, that strong spine. And last one. Keeping those shoulders down, keep drawing up. Bringing that foot round to the front, bringing them together. Oh, have a little bit of a shake out and we'll go straight into a roll down. Taking our arms up, our shoulders down, squeezing that tummy button towards the back of the t-shirt. Tuck that tailbone under. Try and find some roundness through the whole of the spine as you dive down towards the floor, rolling one vertebra at a time. Lift those top ribs and finally flexing at the hips and coming down as low as feels right for you. Let that neck hang. Take a nice big inhale, and with an exhale you're going to begin to roll back up, finding that lift of the ribs, that scoop of the tummy button first, and then rolling up gradually. Again, one vertebra at a time. Coming up to stand nice and tall, shoulders are back, crown of the head is lifted, and we're going to go back into our march, ready to do the other side. So taking whatever level felt right for you during those marches. It could be those toe taps, it could be the knee lift. You might be going all the way around with a big knee lift and a big arm movement. Find what works for you. Take it nice and slowly. Find your balance. And then the next time that your left leg is lifted, here we go. We're going to take that foot forward, those hands to those hips, and we're going into those standing leg dips. So bending that standing leg, keeping that back nice and straight, and then coming up, drawing up through the crown of the head, finding that length through the body. Dipping down and drawing up, trying not to take any tension into those shoulders. And again, if you want to deepen the movement, make a little bit more challenge, then you can lift that knee and dip down a little lower. You can even hover that toe in front if you like. So there's no balance aid at all as we dip down and draw up. If you did want a little kitchen chair or something here, just to take a fingertip touch to aid with balance, then that's absolutely fine. Or take yourself to a wall if you're feeling a little bit wobbly. For 3, 2, 1. Taking that toe forwards, make that sandwich between those hands into that tummy area and that mid-back. Inhaling nice and tall. Exhaling, we're sliding that toe around, shifting our body so that we can take that hip into full extension without arching into the mid-back. Hands are there for that feedback, for that awareness of our body. Squeeze that core, squeeze into the glute. And again, if you want to increase the challenge, you can take that slight lift of that foot as it slides around at the same level. Still with that really strong core connection. That standing leg is shaking now. Working really, really hard. Keep gripping with those toes. Don't lose the focus. For the final 2. Taking that leg behind. Bringing it round. Last one. Fantastic. Bring those feet together. Have a little shake out. And a nice big inhale up. As we exhale to come into that roll down again. Tummy buttons going towards the back of the t-shirt. Tailbones tucking under. And we're rolling all the way down. As far as feels right for our body. As always, if you're a little tight through the hamstrings, just take a bend of those knees. We want to feel a stretch in that lower spine. Take your inhale, and with an exhale, we're rolling back up. Shoulders are back and down. Nice neutral spine, neutral pelvis. And we're going to get ready for our mat work. So I'm going to show you our front lying exercises first, and then we'll roll down to the mat together. Quick demonstration. We're going through our single leg kick just as we did last week. So options are front lying, tummy button scooped away from the mat, or advancing to our cobra semi-plank position. Again, those abdominals are scooped away. And we're taking a single leg kick as we pulse and extend, pulse and extend. Then coming all the way down for our glute activation on one leg, and then we'll swap to the other. So coming down to the mat now, coming to the back of your mat, taking that nice big inhale, taking your exhale to squeeze the tummy button back, tuck the tailbone under and begin to roll down. Letting the neck hang, taking your inhale, and when you're ready, just bend those knees, take the hands all the way to the floor, and then just walk your hands forwards to come all the way down to your front lying position. If you're coming all the way down for your single leg kick, then do. If you want to come into this cobra position, follow on. So we're keeping those shoulders away from the ears, or we're taking our head all the way down onto those forearms. Either way, our tummy button is scooping away from the mat. We've got stability through our pelvis. As we inhale to prepare, exhale to pulse and extend. Pulse and extend with your inhale. It's really important to take that foot back towards the mat with care. Pulsing in with control. Returning to the mat with control. Making sure there's length from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Don't let the chin dip down towards the chest or rise up and crunch into the top of the neck. We're aiming for one more each side. Keep scooping those tummy muscles away from the mat. And then coming all the way down if you're not already. we're going into our glute activation. So our our right leg is bent at 90 degrees and our foot is flexed so that the sole of the foot is placed towards the ceiling. We're inhaling, and with an exhale, we're going to lift that knee off the floor. Some of us will have a lot of movement, others not so much. Inhale to place it down with control. Exhale to go again. Keep going, squeeze that heel up, squeeze that knee off the floor. Keep that core engaged. Make sure those hips are nice and steady. For 3, 2, 1. Extend that leg back to the floor with control. And go to the other side. So our left leg is now bent 90 degrees. The foot is flexed, sole of the foot pointing towards the ceiling. Squeeze that tummy button away from the floor. Take the head all the way down to the hands so the upper body is relaxed. And we're going to just take an inhale, and with an exhale, the left knee is lifting, the heel is pushing towards the ceiling. Inhale down with control. Keep going. It's a nice controlled squeeze of that glute to find the lift, and a controlled return to the floor. For 5, 4, don't let those hips rock. 3, 2, keep the core squeezed. 1, fantastic. Extend that leg. Take those hands underneath your shoulders and push yourself back into a child's pose just to ease out. Take a little break. Bottom's going right back towards the heels if it's comfortable for you. And those hands can circle around, come down by your hips and just relax over. Take your breaths here. Just relax. And when you've taken a couple of nice slow breaths, we're going to come up to our 4-point kneeling position. So we're going to come up to 4-point kneeling with our hands, with our shoulders directly over our hands and our hips directly over our knees. All of these exercises can also be done standing, so if that suits you better, drop me a message and I can talk you through it, or I can just drop you a different video. But we're going to be working into those glutes, into hip extension. When we're extending those legs, those hips, we really need that strong core so we don't arch into that mid-back. So we want to come into our 4-point kneeling position. Get yourself set up, make sure that those shoulders are directly over wrists, that your back is as flat as you can make it. Take a little push away of the floor, squeezing those core muscles. Take an inhale, and with an exhale, we're going to take our right leg back behind us. Just letting the toe graze the floor for now. Keep squeezing those core muscles, keep both hips facing the floor. Take an inhale, and with an exhale, just lift that toe and lengthen it towards the back wall. Inhale to bring it down, again finding that control. Exhale, lift and lengthen. Now the instinct here is often going to be to kick that leg up and try and find height with the leg. If we do that, you can immediately see that I lose my hip positioning and I squeeze and make an uncomfortable position in that mid-back. So keep that control, keep squeezing that core, and just go for that length of the leg behind you rather than height. Keep focusing on both hips facing the floor. As we're exhaling to just lift and lengthen, inhale to lower with control. We can keep going here, or if you feel able, we're going to take a lift and a tap to the side, lift and tap back to center. Lift, tap to the side of your mat, lift and tap back to center. So keep going with whatever suits you. Just with the lift and lowers, or with the lift and taps. Really squeezing that core. It's a lot on the core, as well as a lot on the hips. For 3, 2, 1. And then draw that leg all the way forwards. And take the left leg behind you just to get a little stretch out through the side of that hip. If you can take that leg slightly to the side, the shin slightly to the side, into a yoga pigeon pose. I'll just turn to the front so you can see that, but this won't suit everybody. So I've just shifted my ankle to the side, and I'm squeezing down, so I'm getting that lovely stretch through the outer hip. If this is too much for you, then just bring that leg forwards and get as much of a stretch as you can. If you're happy here, you can relax all the way down. And when you're ready, you're going to bend that left leg back in, take that right leg back behind you, and just roll over so you're on your left hip, right leg is abducted to the side. We're going to go into a side bend. So for most of us, the most comfortable position will be down on our forearms. If you're more comfortable up on the hand, then that's absolutely fine. We're coming into an inhale, just making sure those hips are stacked and the ribs are pulled away from the floor, and an exhale to take that arm up and over, pulling those ribs even further from the floor. Inhale up, exhale over. If you have any difficulty with arm abduction, if it's not comfortable for you, that's no problem. The key here is squeezing those ribs away from the floor. So keep going with that side bend. If you don't want to take that arm up and over, you can squeeze those ribs up and bring them down. Squeeze those ribs up and bring them down. Using that arm to deepen the movement if it's comfortable for you. But if it's not, just focus on those ribs pushing up and squeezing down. If you want to, you can deepen this movement by coming up, lifting the hips off the ground. So following me if you want to, or keeping those hips down if it's better for you. For 4, bring the hips back with control. 3, 2, 1. And we're going to go in straight into a side kick with the leg circle. So if you want to, come all the way down with the upper body. Take an inhale and an exhale to lift that leg. Drawing circles forwards. Squeezing that core so you don't wobble. And circles backwards. If you want to work even harder, you can stay in that side bend position and do your circles here. For 3, 2, 1, and backwards. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw those legs in. Take a little break, take a little massage of that hip. And before we do the other side, we're just going to work down into those quads. So coming up to kneeling, finding that nice strong core, finding a straight line from the crown of the head down to the knees, through the tailbone. Take your inhale. With an exhale, we're taking that weight back, squeezing the core and coming back up, drawing up tall as you come back. So take that weight back, squeeze that core and draw back up, lengthening through the crown of the head. Introduce the arms if you want to. Squeezing up. If you want to make it even more challenging, we add in bigger arms. Keeping on going. And pulsing here or holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squeezing up. And again, just take that weight back towards the heels and just ease yourself over, taking a little break in a child's pose. And when you're ready, we've got the other side to do. So we're going to come back into our 4-point kneeling position. Making sure we've got those shoulders over the wrists. I'm going to move my towel out the way. Making sure we've got shoulders over the wrists. And our hips are directly over our knees. Taking that left leg behind you now. Taking an inhale to lift and lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Make sure both hips are facing the floor. Make sure that that back is absolutely steady. Imagine a tray of drinks balancing on it. As the leg lifts, most of us, our body will want to compensate by rocking over or twisting through the hips. Don't let it. Keep squeezing that core. Keep that back absolutely still. All of the effort is coming into that glute and into those hips. Squeezing those tummy muscles. And again, if you want to make this a little bit more challenging, we're going to lift and lengthen, tap to the side. Lift and lengthen to tap back to center. Keep going with the normal lift and lengthens if that's enough for you today. If we're tapping to the side, we need even more awareness of our hip stability. For 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Bringing that left leg all the way forwards, sending the right leg back and just coming into a bit of a stretch through the hip. Again, if you want to, you can go onto the outside edge of that knee, bringing that shin across and come into a pigeon pose. Relaxing down if it suits you, or keeping the upper body lifted if that's more comfortable. Bringing that shin back to center, taking that left leg back behind you, and we're turning over onto our side, ready for our side bend. So we're coming down to that forearm, or up onto the hand if that suits you better. Again, we've got the option of taking the arm over or keeping that hand on the hip, depending on how your shoulders feel. Take an inhale. With an exhale, we're going all the way up, lifting those ribs away from the floor, finding as much space under the armpit as you possibly can. Inhale to come up. Exhale, folding up and over. Keeping on going, really focusing on that space between the waist and the mat. And if you feel able, then we're going to start to lift those hips, finding even more space, finding length from fingertip to toe. Don't let that shoulder come up towards the ears. Keep pushing the floor away with that forearm. For 3, 2, 1. We're going to get ready for our side kick circles. If you want to come all the way down to the mat with the upper body, then do. If you're happy staying in this side bend position, then do. Either way, we're squeezing that waist away from the floor. We're inhaling to prepare. We're exhaling to lift that top leg. And we're drawing our tiny little circles, squeezing those tummy muscles, squeezing that spine. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sending them backwards. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that foot down, draw that hip in, take a little massage of the hip. And just roll yourself up over to sitting, ready to roll down to the mat. We're going to come through our roll up just to get down to the mat. If you know that when you're rolling up, your knees have a tendency to come together or to fall apart, then pop something between them, a rolled up towel or a little cushion, just to keep that nice alignment. We're sitting up really nice and tall, finding an L shape through the spine. Inhaling nice and tall with our exhaling. We're taking our tummy button back. We're squeezing under those ribs, finding a C shape with the spine, and then tilting the pelvis underneath us. Rolling back with control, finding a point where we can hold it. Inhaling here. Exhale, we're going to roll back up, finding that C shape again. Sitting really nice and tall with our inhale. Keep watching those knees. Exhaling, coming back. Taking your inhale at the point where you can hold it. Coming back up and sitting tall. Exhale, rolling down, C shape through the spine. Finding that inhale. Exhale, rolling up. Sitting nice and tall. We're going to roll down now, all the way down to the mat, coming straight into our shoulder bridge. Inhaling tall, exhale, rolling down. If you find you're losing control, place those hands down, place those forearms down. Coming down as far as you can. Keep those tummy muscles squeezed. Find that control down towards the mat. Don't let that gap between your chin and chest close. Coming all the way down to lying. Shuffle those feet closer towards your bottom. Nice strong base through those feet. Make sure they're hip width and parallel, that those knees are nice and steady. Press through the big toes as we inhale to prepare. Exhale, tilt that pubic bone up towards the ceiling. Roll that lumbar spine off the mat. And if you want to and you feel ready, you can continue to peel the spine off the mat, one vertebra at a time. Coming up to the shoulders, squeezing those hips nice and high. Don't let those ribs flare up towards the ceiling. We have control of those ribs. The hips are leading throughout the movement. And as we come back down again, keep those hips high towards the ceiling. Press the ribs back towards the mat. And come back down one vertebra at a time, keeping those hips as high as you can until the last second, relaxing that tailbone back to the mat, coming back to neutral. Rolling up again, so work with your breaths. Tilt the pubic bone, tilt the pelvis, roll up, always leading with the hips. Push them as high as you can, but keep those ribs stabilized. Squeeze the muscles in your bottom. Keep those shoulders down away from your ears. Use your exhale to come back to the mat with control. This is where people often rush. This is where a lot of the effort of the movement is. Really squeeze one vertebra at a time back to the mat, keeping those hips high for as long as you possibly can. We're going to keep going here, rolling up and down. Or if you feel like you can roll up, keep those hips nice and steady. And lift one leg. Flex that foot. We're going to dip that foot down to the floor. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that foot down. Squeeze those hips high as the spine rolls back towards the floor. For lots of us, that will be too much. Just keep going, rolling up and down into your shoulder bridge, rolling down with control. If you want to progress that further, but you don't want to lift your leg, then you're very welcome to just try those heel lifts up onto the toe one at a time, like we did last week. So that toe march, keeping stability through the pelvis. If you are doing those leg lifts, follow me for the other side. Otherwise, keep going with those shoulder bridges. As we exhale to tilt the pelvis, roll up, push those hips high. Find stability through those hips. Squeeze that core as we lift the other leg up towards the ceiling. Flex the foot to bring it down with control. Inhale up. Exhale down. Keep pressing into the big toe of that supporting leg so it doesn't flap to the side. We've got 2 more to do if we can. Bring that foot back to the mat. Lift those hips high and squeeze that down. 1 vertebra at a time. Bring both knees back in towards the chest. Have a roll from side to side. Massage through that lumbar spine. Enjoy a little bit of a stretch. Take those feet down towards the floor. And we're going to go into our supine single leg dips that we did last week. So we're lying on our back. We're in our neutral spine position. Feet are hip width, knees are hip width. With an exhale, we're going to take one knee down towards the floor, opening up the hip. Don't let the other leg move. Use your inhale to draw it back with control. And with an exhale, we're going to the other side. Don't let those hips roll. Keep stability through the side that isn't moving. If you want to, you can place your hands on your hip bones here for a little bit of awareness, a little bit of feedback from your body. We want absolute stability through those hip bones. Don't let the knee moving drag the pelvis over. And if you feel like you want to progress this movement, then you can inhale and with an exhale take one leg and then the other leg up to a tabletop position. So that's 90 degrees behind the knee, 90 degrees at the hip. We're inhaling to prepare, we're exhaling to take one knee out to the side, squeezing it back together, and then the other knee out to the side. Keeping stability through the other side. One more each leg. And then whether you're in tabletop, if you're in tabletop, stay there. If your feet are on the floor, take an inhale and an exhale to squeeze under those ribs and bring both feet up towards tabletop. We're going to work towards scissors. So we're squeezing that core. Don't let those ribs come up off the floor. And we're taking one foot, dipping down towards the floor, just hovering a centimetre above, and bringing it back in, working with control. The temptation here is going to be to flap behind the knee. We're keeping the angle behind the knee exactly the same, and we're working from the hip. Again, take your time. If we just let it drop down, we're losing control of that muscle around the joint. So really take your time. Squeeze that toe towards the floor, just let it hover above, bring it back in. Same on the other side. We're trying for one more each side if we can. Keep going with your breathing, don't hold your breath. And then bring both feet down towards the floor. Take your arms out wide into a capital T. Take an inhale with an exhale. Send both knees over towards one side. Twisting into the waist, keeping both shoulders super glued to the floor. Enjoy that stretch. Take an inhale and an exhale to squeeze those tummy muscles and bring the knees back to center. Take an inhale and center, and then an exhale to take the knees to the other side. Taking an inhale into the stretch. Exhaling to squeeze through the tummy muscles, back up to center. And then we're going to go through a roll up, either a roll up, taking those hands directly above you. Taking an inhale, bringing that chin to chest, nose to chest, and rolling all the way up to sitting, if that suits you. If it doesn't suit you, use your hands to get up, or you can bring those knees right in, round through the spine, and roll like a ball to come up to seated. Take the option that suits you. I'm going to go through a roll up and bringing those arms directly above me. I'm rolling forward, rolling through that rounded spine to come and sit nice and tall. Bringing those feet directly in front of me. I'm going to inhale and exhale to take one leg across. Sitting nice and tall. Stretching into that outer hip. Drawing that knee close to my chest so my tummy is pressed up against my thigh. Ease those shoulders down. Try not to be hunched up here. Ease those shoulders down. Sit nice and tall. And if you want to deepen the stretch with an exhale, we're just going to twist across that thigh, taking that hand behind you and looking over across the knee. Slowly coming back to center if you've gone into that twist. Slowly opening up that knee and just pressing that knee down gently towards the floor, so we're opening that hip up a little bit further. Again, trying to sit up nice and tall on those sit bones. And then slowly unhooking that foot. Bringing it forward, seeing if that leg's a little bit longer now. And then going over to the other side. So hooking the foot over the knee, hugging that knee towards you and drawing up nice and tall. Sitting as tall as you can, pulling against that knee, pulling the knee in towards the tummy, towards the chest to get that extra lift up onto the sit bones. Shoulders are down, crown of the head is lifted. And if we want to deepen the stretch again, we're taking our arm across that knee, twisting over and looking towards the other side of the room. Take a couple of breaths here. Keep sitting tall. If by twisting it's caused you to hunch and your tummy to move further away from your thigh, then just come out of the twist a little bit. We want to still be nice and tall on those sit bones. And then gradually come out of that twist. If you've twisted, just keep that foot across the knee, but lift the foot slightly and open the knee out, taking a slight push, a gentle press of that hand against the knee. Again, sitting nice and tall. Taking those breaths. Having a little moment to reflect on your practice today. What felt difficult? What was a little bit easier than last week? It was a tough one. Probably everything felt difficult. And then unhook that foot. Send both feet forwards. Take a nice big inhale to draw up onto those sit bones. Scooping up all that fresh air, sunlight. Exhale, press those palms back to the floor. Shoulders are down. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. And you're all done. Fantastic. Well done, everybody. Hopefully I'll see you next week for our spine and core series. Thanks. Bye.